Hi, my name is Elise Shafferman. I'm an Alexander Technique teacher, and today I'm going to show you a little bit about how I work with students in a lesson. But first I just want to tell you a little bit about what the Alexander Technique is. Like Pilates, Alexander Technique has been well known and widely used by actors, dancers, and other types of performing artists to hone their skills. Recently, it's making its way into the mainstream to help anyone who wants to experience pain reduction, performance enhancement, or greater efficiency and ease in movement. One of the main differences between the Alexander Technique and similar somatic modalities like yoga, Feldenkrais, body-mind centering, is that the Alexander Technique can be practiced in the midst of any activity. So students frequently tell me that they use the Alexander Technique to reduce tension in their body while they're sitting at meetings, walking around their neighborhood, shopping, talking on the phone, driving, or practicing a more skilled activity like yoga or dance or working out. So it's something that you can really incorporate into anything that you're doing to help yourself. The technique can teach you how to stop using the wrong muscles during any activity. This can free up your energy and your natural sense of alignment. The experience is very much one of feeling like you've been tuned up or reset. My clients include people from every age group and every profession. I've worked with teachers, actors, lawyers, computer programmers, writers, pregnant women, people entering retirement, you name it. So we're going to get started with the lesson bit. A typical lesson includes work with movement and work lying on a table. So we're actually going to start with doing a little work sitting and standing, getting in and out of a chair. So working with getting in and out of a chair is a very traditional thing that we do in an Alexander Technique lesson, but it's very useful because you think about how many times in life a person sits and stands in a single day, and to learn how to do the movement with less tension and less strain can help you out throughout your daily activities. So this is Caitlin, who is my Alexander model for the moment. And before I start doing much work on her, I'm just going to ask her to sit and stand once as she does habitually, and she can notice any extra tension in her body, and we'll just see how that goes. Go ahead. Okay, so there's just a little bit of extra effort and work, particularly through the neck and the upper back. So with my hands, I'm really actually not doing anything. I'm mostly just sensing how she's balancing and giving her a little bit of support for her thinking. So in the Alexander Technique, we learn how to give thoughts to release the neck so that the head itself is balancing a little more easily, a little more poise and freedom, and to allow that to feed in to lengthen the spine a little bit more. So I'm just going to be working with her as she's sitting. To become an Alexander teacher actually requires 3 years of daily training. So sometimes I think watching an Alexander lesson is a little bit like watching goldfish. You're not exactly sure what it is that you're seeing, but with the training you get very sensitive to being able to notice when there's tension and when there's a release of tension, and really to help someone with your hands. So what I notice is, just as I'm working with her, her breathing is coming in a little more fully. I think she's relaxing a little bit. And to come out of the chair, you just take a little moment to think of inhibiting. That's great. And to let everything move. So without doing very much work at all, that was a much smoother movement. And I'm just putting my hands here kind of on the front of her pelvis. You can think a little length and letting the knees release forward. Beautiful. And come back to the chair. I might want to do a little spinal roll in a moment.
Okay.
Yeah. And think of these little corners of your jaw just kind of dropping towards your neck a little bit. Yeah. So. That's it. Okay.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Johnson, and I started working with Elise in the Alexander technique about 1.5 years ago. I had an injury in both arms that I got from typing too much, so I was looking to find something to ease the tension and maybe give me a little less pain. And I tried a whole bunch of other modalities before this, but this has been the most helpful one. I was hunched over a desk all day and glued to the computer, typing, kind of straining to see the screen. And with the Alexander technique, my posture is so much better. That's one thing I noticed immediately, was that my posture was better, I was sitting taller, and I just had less tightening and achiness at the end of the day. My shoulders were creeping up, my neck wasn't hurting, and I didn't have to kind of clench so much, just as, you know, the stresses of activities throughout the day. So it's been really helpful to me.
So in addition to work and movement, a typical Alexander technique lesson includes what's called a table turn, where the student lies on their back on basically a massage table with their eyes open, and the teacher, with a very gentle guiding touch, helps the student to release tension and find maximum expansion and length and width throughout their back and throughout their entire body. So I'm just going to be working with the student, and I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing. So I think that's too many books for her head. In the Alexander technique, we use a little bit of support underneath the head. Traditionally we use books, but it doesn't have to be a book, it could be anything. A little pad or a folded towel. To keep the neck at a very neutral alignment, without a little support under the head will tend to be tipped back, which will be uncomfortable and will mimic some of the tension habits people feel. So with my hands, I'm just helping her to think of releasing her neck and allowing her head to release delicately forward and up off her whole spine. And to get some length and expansion throughout the back. So when I work with students on the table, they're not passive, they're actually active participants. So they're practicing inhibiting tension. So here I want to ask you to notice that you're tensing this arm and to let that be very easy. And also to actively give themselves directions to undo tension in the neck, to allow the head to release delicately up off the spine, and to allow the whole back to lengthen and widen. And then with my hands, I'm just helping her here to allow her shoulders to widen. And just make sure that your eyes are easy. That's right. So really think of just allowing your lower ribs to fall. That's great. And letting the whole spine be long. And think of sending the crown of your head out, I guess north, which is literal in this case. So, although I am moving the student, this isn't really a manipulative technique. Mostly I'm waiting to feel when she's released muscle tension, and then I just use my hands to help her body come into a greater state of length. So I'm not pulling or lifting. Well, I am lifting, but... So here, instead of focusing on releasing the shoulder again, just go back to that idea of the overall expansion out the top of the head and the sense of length through all the spinal vertebrae. And just letting those lower ribs fall. Okay.
My name's Suzette, and I've been studying with Elise for about 6 months now. And I became interested in the Alexander technique first because I do some performing. I do tea ceremony, and I wanted something that would give me more awareness of my body as I'm doing that, because it's a very meditative act to do it, and you're almost not kind of connected with your body in a way, and I needed something that would help me with that, because I noticed, you know, I've always had posture problems, and I didn't particularly look very elegant at first when I was doing it. But later it helped me because I became injured at work in both my arms, and you know, to do tea ceremony, I couldn't lose mobility in my hands and my wrists, and that really concerned me, and I had to go to physical therapy for it. And I found that actually with Alexander technique that it actually helped me in many ways more than going to physical therapy, because it was so empowering to know how my body moved and to learn about my own anatomy, and you know, how you sometimes unconsciously will yourself to do something that is not what your body should be doing, and it helped so much get rid of pain and increase awareness of how I was moving, and in itself kind of becomes a meditation. You know, it looks easy when you're on the table to just kind of lie here, but it's really hard. It requires a lot of concentration, and you learn so much about yourself when you do it. So.
Thanks for watching this video. I teach private Alexander Technique lessons in Berkeley and in San Francisco's Mission District. You can find out more about me on my website, which is www.bodyproject.us. You can also contact me via montagio.com or watch my other videotapes there. Thanks again.